Welcome to Joy in the Morning. Glad you're with us today. Yesterday we were in Exodus 17 and looking at Joshua, Aaron, and Hur and how they came together. They were better together than any of them could have been apart. They made Moses better. They made Israel better. And when we started out, made mention of the fact that they were in temptation, they were in strife. Moses even called the place Massah and Meribah because of temptation and strife. And when they were done and the victory was had, he named the altar Jehovah Nissi, which is Jehovah, God, our banner. And this whole point of dissension and strife and being upset over every little thing wreaks more havoc in the family of God, in the church of God, within our own home families than almost anything else. When in fact what we need is to come together because we're all better together. And so in verses 8 through 13, I believe it was, we find Israel under attack from Amalek and Moses having to hold his hands up, and he can't do it alone.
Yes. So the things that I took notice of as you were going through the sermon is one, that there is conflict, and there's always conflict. There's always been conflict, and the decision is who will fight. What will your job be, and why does it matter? And so as I looked at these things, as you preached, and thought about myself, of course, because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to take the word and apply it to ourselves. And so as I did that, I thought about how we are in conflict, and the church is in conflict with the world, and just how much more evident it is now than it ever has been, and what's true, what's not, and is it worth fighting for, and who will fight. And so those are some of the things that I thought of. And Moses was chosen by God, and his was sort of in your face chosen, right? So he was up on the mountain, and the burning bush came and called him out and told him he was going to be
Delivering
Israel, right? And so his was very obvious, but Aaron and Hur's part in this particular conflict was, it was a lot less obvious. And so what they did is they saw that there was a need for someone to come alongside Moses and help him, and they chose to do it.
And it was critical.
It was critical.
I mean, you say, well, the power was of God. Yes. The power
Right.
was in the rod of God. Yes.
Right.
The power was in the hands of Moses. Yes.
Right.
The man fighting was Joshua.
Right. But it was in the willingness of the people. It was in the willingness of the people,
Aaron and Hur.
and Joshua.
Oh, yes.
All of them, to get the job done.
Oh, yes.
And I guess one thing that I thought of yesterday is I have a tendency to care what people think, and to get my eyes off what God thinks is important and what God thinks my job is, and paying attention to what people say my job is.
Right.
So that really stuck out to me, I think, yesterday, as much as anything, that we need to be doing the job that God tells us we need to do.
And as we look down the road in the lives of these same men who were faithful to act here, we kind of see that. We see Joshua still willing to do what he's called upon to do.
Right.
We see Aaron get caught up. When the people start complaining, start turning toward him and saying, what are we going to do about this? What are you going to do? He caves in with the golden calf and with Moses' wife, and all of those things, he falls prey to
Right.
public opinion.
Right.
Instead of keeping his eyes on the Lord, and the Lord saying, hey, there's a promised land right over there.
Right.
If you'll just keep on track.
And, you know, I mean, this wasn't in the storyline that you did yesterday, but we know that Aaron had a jealousy problem with Aaron. And
With Moses.
Yeah, I mean with Moses, excuse me. And you know, we can do that. We can get our eyes off our job and what our job should be and start looking at why I wish my job was that.
Right.
You know, or I wish I had chosen that path or whatever. But God has a specific
Right.
path for each one of us, and each one is important. Each job is important.
There's another problem that we run into often with people. That's what the church is, people, is that I want to manipulate somebody else's job, but I don't want the responsibility of the failure of the everyday tedious things, the background stuff, the things nobody sees. I
Right.
just want to out in public be the
Right.
one running things.
Yeah.
And that's not the way it works. You've got to be
Exactly.
willing to climb the mountain with Moses. You've got to be willing to be the unrecognized support. And here God,
Yeah.
of course, recognizes, and we should try to recognize.
In a lot of Christian circles, something that I've noticed as I listen to different guys preach and stuff, and is that they say if you believe enough, or if you wait when the exact time is right, God will elevate you. Well, maybe God's position for you is for you to hold the hands up
Right.
of someone else who needs your help. And so we forget about that. There always has to be that. There has to be somebody standing behind who's willing to work in the trenches,
Not get top billing.
not get top billing.
That's right.
No one notices. If you do get noticed, it's usually for, you know, something you did wrong. Like, hey, you let his arm slip. You let his hand fall down, you know, or whatever. But and you know, you can, I'll say that way, you can get your eyes off God easily.
Yes.
And start thinking about this world and what other people's opinions matter or think or whatever.
Instead of just waiting upon the Lord, doing what God wants you to do,
Yeah.
what you're supposed to be doing anyway.
Right.
You know, it makes such a difference. And I really believe it's in that faithfulness that God really blesses. And
But
it's
he
in that
ble-
faithfulness also that God says, if you're faithful in this small thing, I'll give you something else. I will elevate you. Now, it may not be public, but I will give you something of great importance to deal with. That could be a prayer life. That could be an individual you're reaching out to for Christ. That could be something. And I'll tell you what, if you're the one that someone's reaching out to and leads to Christ, that is a very important position.
Yeah, or if you're the one that is getting prayed for,
Yes.
if you're the one who's, you know, benefiting from another that's on their knees and in prayer, and but our ways and the way we think certainly isn't the way God does. Isn't the way God thinks. I mean,
Right.
who would think that Moses needed to stand there with his arms up in the air? Right?
Yeah.
Who would think of that? But God did, and he chose that there were going to be some guys that helped him.
Right.
And so that's what we need to remember. And there were a lot of things to take away from yesterday's message, actually. I think it does matter. One of the things I wrote down was, why does it matter? Every single job matters.
That's right.
No matter what your job is, it matters. And what will your job be? Will you be the one that is to, you know, be her and hold Moses' hands up? Or will you be Joshua out on the front lines and in the battle? Will you be Moses, you know, standing there making sure everything's going the way it should be and everyone has an important job?
And the people that were there, I mean, Joshua had to watch as his soldiers died when Moses' hands would fall. You know, so it wasn't all glamour. And
Oh,
Moses obviously didn't want those people to die, so he was working as hard as he could and still falling short sometimes.
yeah.
And he just absolutely had to have some people help him.
Hmm.
And that doesn't speak lowly of Moses.
No.
Moses was human. What it speaks of is the preparation of God to have people there who could make a difference.
And for Moses to do whatever God said, you know, even if it seems like a silly thing, like you stand here with your hands up in the air, you know, or with the God of Rod or whatever, and it just, you never know what God's gonna choose for you to do.
His ways often just don't quite make
Yeah.
sense to us.
I mean, I remember when we first were called into ministry and just the different ways that God did work in our life. And, you know, it was very specific to us and it was very obvious to us at the time, but maybe for somebody else it wouldn't have seemed so
Mhm.
important or specific, but it was for us. And each person, God has a job for you, and you have to be listening and know what it is, and
And just be faithful to whatever God calls you to.
be faithful.
And sometimes be thankful He didn't call you to be Joshua on the front
Yeah.
line, you know?
Yeah.
Be glad to be able to be a her.
Yes.
So I feel that what God prepares us for and calls us to is exactly where we need to be.
Yes.
We will fall short in every other endeavor, position we try to take.
Yes.
And so we just trust God that God doesn't make mistakes. He needs us. He doesn't need us, but He needs us in His plan.
Mm-hmm.
And we definitely, even a man as strong as chosen as Moses, couldn't get it done alone.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's okay if we can't get it done alone,
Right.
because God put a whole church around us to help us. And I think that if we pull together, and like I said, that's going to be our theme for this year, it's going to be better together. The more we draw together, the more we work together, the more we focus on the Lord our banner,
Yes.
the more likely we are to be going the same direction
Yes.
and being ready to help in whatever way God calls.
And let's do it. Let's
Amen.
do it. Things are different, and they are going to be different from now on. We don't live in the same world, but it's an exciting time.
It is.
It's an exciting time, and we can continue to every day decide that we're going to be in the fight.
That's right. Here in the last days, it's there's a lot of unknowns. Let me put it that way. There are a lot of things that could happen at any moment,
Yeah.
and of course we're looking for the Lord to come in the air. But in the meantime,
Every decision matters. Every
That's right.
fight matters. And it shouldn't be a fight in that we should be trying to live peaceable with all men, which is a fight, and and just trying to bring peace and joy and love and all those things that the world so desperately needs. And that doesn't sound like a fight, does it? But it is.
it is
It's a struggle. And
because of the prince of this world.
Yeah.
It's fighting against
Yeah.
everything that we're trying to do that God would have us
Right.
to do and accomplish.
and it's a worthy fight. It matters if we're in that fight. It matters that we carry that banner of love and joy and peace and hope. And
Well, I think that's one of the greatest differences between our God of hope and the God of this world, the devil. People matter to God. They're just instruments, disposable instruments to the devil.
right,
But to the Lord Jesus Christ, He gave His all
yeah,
to give you life.
yeah. And we should care
everyone
for
matters.
people the exact same way. You know, we should care for people and love people, and it matters, and you matter. Your decision to be in the fight matters, and we all just want to do whatever God has for us to do. Let's get in there and do it. Let's do it. Let's be together. Let's work together as a unit, and
Say goodbye.
goodbye.